Hi guys, welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be continuing my series where I draw Demon Slayer characters' eyes, continuing with both Gyu and Nezuko as you guys have requested in the poll. First things first, I started off by tracing around the area where I figured the eye would go and then actually starting to sketch the eye. As I was sketching the eye, I did what I had done before with Rengoku's eyes, where all of the lines that were more hardly placed out were going to be colored in black or lined in black, and everything else was going to be filled with color and not lined at all. I made sure to add in every detail that was in the reference, even though the reference wasn't like the actual anime Gyu. I'm pretty sure it was Gym Coach Gyu from the Academia AU. After I had finished my sketch, I very roughly started to lighten the lines with a kneaded eraser. This step isn't exactly needed, but it helps to not make the lining kind of holographic looking after you have lined it. But I think this just happens with my markers because I don't use actual liners, I just use Sharpies. As I said before, I line with Sharpies, and I use a very thin, fine point Sharpie to line with everything. It helps really well when you're in smaller areas. I also use it to color in those finer points, especially on the bottom lid. A little tip, I found that if you're just very confident and act like you can't make any mistakes whilst doing the line art, then it doesn't look as shaky, especially in some areas. Like when I was lining the colored part of the eye, my hand was kind of shaky, and I'm pretty sure that was because I was nervous because I didn't want to mess it up because I had already messed it up in a spot. But especially in the areas kind of how I did it where I just fixed it instead of following my actual sketch because I didn't like the way my sketch looked. It didn't look shaky how it did on the iris area is just what I'm gonna call it, and it actually made me look, well, not made me, but made it look more confident and the lines more consistent. After lining it and filling it in with all of the black, I went in with one of my lightest skin tones. It is the lightest skin tone that I do have, and I went around where I wanted the color to start and end kind of in that area, but my marker did actually end up drying out. It didn't fully dry out. I just need to get a new alcohol marker of the specific color, so I had to pause the camera and go steal an alcohol marker from my mom that was a very similar shade but not exact. You can actually see where I made the colors overlap. It kind of looks like I did it intentionally to make it kind of look like skin texture. After I filled in the base color of the skin, I went in with a shadow, which is just a tan colored Sharpie. And I made sure to follow my very light and barely visible lines to get the shadows in the correct spots as reference to the image. I then proceeded to pull out literally every blue, both Sharpie and alcohol marker that I had because I don't have that many, and I knew for a fact I didn't have the exact colors to use for Gyu's eyes. Or more correct term, just one eye because I only draw the one. I proceeded to swatch every single blue Sharpie and alcohol marker directly next to Gyu's eye, trying to find the correct ones, and I figured out that the not darkest Sharpie, but darkest true blue Sharpie I had was perfect for the pupil, even though it blends in a lot with the more turquoisey blue that I chose for the main color of the eye. But if you're doing this, I would suggest to just use a more large variety of markers if you're doing this, because it's very hard to get specific eye colors, and I know I could have just gone over and borrowed my mom's alcohol markers, but I decided for this eye I wouldn't do that yet, and that I would start doing it with Nezuko's eye and then continue it throughout the series. That way I have the correct colors and the eyes turn out as close to the reference as possible. I soon decided on the basic blue Sharpie color, even though it is quite more turquoisey and not as dark as I needed. But I did make sure to go over the color multiple times to try to get it as dark as possible before I went in with my cooler gray marker, I believe, to try to make it look darker, but in reality I just made it look more turquoisey, and I don't think it turned out as well, and I do think I am definitely going to redo Gyu's eye farther along in the series. I then sketched out where the people would go. You can kind of see it on the black area, but not see it as well on the blue area, unfortunately. But I did sketch it out because of how dark the eye was. It wouldn't be easy to cover up, even though I don't normally do that. But I did do it this time. I can't remember if I did this with Rengoku's eye, because I know for a fact I drew all of, like, where the colors would go out, but didn't line it. And I think I just forgot to do that with Gyu's eye, because it's been a little while since I've done Rengoku's eye. But I did end up putting the pupil, and in my opinion, it looks a little small from what I would have liked, especially compared to the reference. I then began to add in the highlight-ish area that is on, from what I've seen, all of the characters' eyes. I did the same thing with Rengoku's eye, where you just put down the white gel pen or whiteout pen, whichever you have, and then smear it to make it blend in with the color, and make sure there isn't anything on your fingers, otherwise it will definitely mess with the white color. I then did the gray part of the eye, kind of, and because I swiped it through all the way, some of the blue leaked, and I didn't really think about that, but I made sure to put in a bunch of touch-ups before I actually went on off camera to cut out the eye. And here is the final image of the eye. I put my signature up in the top left corner, and I had glued it onto a sketchbook page of mine that I had just blacked out. It is on the same page as Rengoku's eye, and that is where it shall sit permanently, so that way I can easily get to it and I will be able to find it, so that way we can all look through at the eyes at the end of the series to see how much I have improved with A, my art, and B, just how well the eyes have turned out over time. And because I did a little collage at the end of Rengoku's video, I did do a little one right here that you guys can see of Gyu before we head over to Nezuko's eye and then see her collage after seeing the finished product of her eye. While drawing Nezuko's eye, I pretty much just repeated the same steps that I had done with Gyu's eye, but at some point while drawing the skin tone on Nezuko's eye, I messed up and my thing came A, out of the view of the camera, and B, I'm definitely going to have to redo both of these eyes later on in the series, because I was not happy with Nezuko's eye. Of course, after the alcohol marker dried, it looked a little better, but in my opinion, I think I'm going to redo them. But let me know your opinions, like, down below, so I can know if these eyes were up to basic standards or if I should redo them, because I probably am going to end up redoing them at some point. And let me just say, I don't know how people casually put eyelashes on any of their characters, especially if it's a reoccurring character, because when I tell you I cannot draw eyelashes for the life of me, like, I was not perfectly, but as perfectly as I could copying the image, and I still struggled so much while doing the eyelashes. I don't know how people do it every day in their own character design. Once I had finished the sketch, I started to line it without using my kneaded eraser to kind of lighten the lines a little bit, and I didn't realize this until a couple minutes later after I had already lined the top part of the eye. If I was able to play the audio, then you would hear a very loud and audible groan from me. Once I had finished lining and painstakingly filling in all of the eyelashes, you can see here where I end up moving my paper out of the frame, but luckily I noticed it by the time I finished the skin tone. So let's skip to after I've noticed. Now that past me has noticed that they were out of frame and readjusted their camera, I actually started to swatch all of the pink colors, most of which were from my mom's set of alcohol markers. She's the reason that I even have alcohol markers to begin with, aside from the Sharpies. But even throughout all of those markers, I could not find a pink color that I liked. I know that she has more alcohol markers somewhere, but I did not feel like looking for them, and I actually ended up just using pretty much all of my own markers on the first pass of the colored bit of the eye. But then I went back and used one of the pink alcohol markers from my mom, and I ended up not liking the finished product of Nezuko's eye, especially the colored bit. If I had it my way, I would definitely go back and stop myself from adding that, like, extra pink color around, but I thought that the original pink color that I chose was too light. And I just realized that I left out the little, like, hashes in her eye, so, you know, that's something I also forgot. I don't feel like going back and adding them, and I've already glued it in my sketchbook, plus I didn't have the ability to film it, and if you can hear screaming in the background, that's my little cousin. Anyways, as I am coloring in the eye, I keep bumping my camera every time I open the markers, and you saw me earlier put a second sheet of like scrap paper, that right there, underneath the eye where I keep bumping my camera. Dear God, woman, stop it. Anyways, just because I did Gyu's eye there right beforehand and didn't wipe off the whiteboard that I put under so that way I don't get alcohol marker on my desk, it was going to transfer up through the light color of the pink, so instead of letting it do that, I put a second sheet of paper under, but I did make sure to not let any of the blue bleed through, other than in a small bit, but you can't even see it. And here you can see where I effed up and royally screwed myself over and added in the second color. It just looked like it kind of needed skin tone, and I really didn't like it at the time. I mean, right now it's not that bad. I tried to lighten it with like a colorless blender, but nothing really helped fix it. Especially on camera, it looks really bad. It's not as bad in person, but still, I just didn't like it, and I am definitely going to have to redo Nezuko's eye later on in the future, so that way I don't leave her eye like this, because it is atrocious. Anyways, here's the finished product of the eye, and for some reason my camera keeps putting like this blue filter over the eyes, and I'm not quite sure why, but this is the finished product. As you can see where the like colors are messed up, it is not that bad, but in my opinion, it definitely needs to be redone. And as I promised, here's the Nezuko collage before I go. Anyways, my darlings, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video and the second episode to my Demon Slayer eye drawing series. If you want to vote on which character is next up in the poll, comment down below and I might pick it to be put in the poll, and make sure to go vote on the poll. I hope you all have a lovely day or night no matter where you are. Bye guys!